made the difference tonight?
No, I think I kept the intensity well throughout the match. She's a very intense player and has really good shots, so I'm really happy with the win.
And you also had a lot of fans supporting you here in Linz tonight. A lot of fans from the Philippines, but I heard they actually live in Austria. Some of them are in Vienna, some of them in Linz, in Salzburg. What did it mean to you to also have a lot of people cheering for you?
It means so much. Hello mga kababayan. Hindi ko inakala ang dami ninyo dito sa Linz, pero salamat sa pagsubaybay sa mga laban ko at magkita tayo tomorrow. Yes.
And going back to Linz, I know it's your first time here. How do you enjoy it so far?
I think it's amazing. I'm really happy with how they've welcomed me and welcomed the Filipinos. I think I guess we match really well because there are a lot of them here. So I'm really thankful for the hospitality. I hope to discover your culture more and have some fun on the court.
And I guess the fans are having some fun tonight, of course, celebrating you. Congrats once again and all the best for the rest of the tournament.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Das ist Alexandra Eala von den Philippinen. Die sehen wir dann alle spätestens übermorgen, aber möglicherweise schon morgen. Also unbedingt noch schauen, ob es Tickets gibt für Mittwoch oder Donnerstag. Dann zweite Runde hier beim Upper Austria Ladies in Linz. Jetzt gibt's wieder was für die Fans. Some presents for the fans. Signed tennis balls.
So her evening's work is done. And she will be back in action tomorrow. Will Eala.
So the ball with the number 1. Who's got the ball with the number 1? Wins a down low.
Straight set win
back
for Eala. This is how she did it.
There's a toxic, deeply unrealistic illusion pushed by traditional sports media, the idea that elite athletes are supposed to function without emotion. According to that narrative, true champions are nothing more than perfectly programmed machines. Step onto the court, execute with precision, destroy the opponent, and walk away expressionless. But that fantasy collapses the moment reality steps in. Because when you're a 20-year-old prodigy carrying the hopes of over 100 million people, pressure doesn't disappear, it builds. It grows inside you like a fault line, tense and volatile, ready to crack at any moment. Welcome back to Court Pro, the undisputed destination for raw, unfiltered truth behind the ruthless business, psychological warfare, and tactical brilliance of the WTA Tour. Today, we're tearing apart the myth of the emotionless champion. What happened on center court at the Upper Austria Ladies Linz Open wasn't just a routine straight sets win. It was something far more powerful, a tactically dominant and emotionally charged battle between the Philippines' rising superstar Alexandra Eala and Austria's relentless veteran Julia Grabher. On paper, the scoreline looks comfortable, 6-4, 6-3. A clean, controlled victory. But that number doesn't tell the real story. Because the defining moment of this match wasn't a winner down the line or a perfectly timed forehand. It was the instant after the final point, when Eala dropped her racket, covered her face, and broke down in raw, uncontrollable tears. That moment said everything. Today, we're breaking down the hidden layers of this match, the suffocating breakpoint pressure, the psychological warfare, and the extreme mental resilience it took to survive it all. Because those tears, they weren't weakness. They were proof. Proof that she may be the most mentally resilient and dangerously driven young star in the game right now. So buckle up. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. Let's dissect the anatomy of a dominant victory and an emotional masterpiece. To truly understand what Eala endured on that indoor clay court, you have to ignore the gap in star power and focus on the battle itself. This wasn't just tennis. This was psychological warfare. The Austrian setup played its role perfectly, a hostile environment engineered to amplify every ounce of pressure. The crowd, the atmosphere, the momentum, it all leaned toward the hometown favorite. And Julia Grabher knew exactly what she had to do. She wasn't going to out-hit Eala. She was going to disrupt her. Facing a technically superior, Rafa Nadal Academy, trained offensive force, Grabher abandoned conventional tactics and dragged the match into chaos. Long rallies. Heavy exchanges. Relentless pressure. She turned the match into a fight. Not a clean, elegant contest, but a gritty, exhausting, emotional war. And she fought like a veteran with nothing to lose and everything to prove. She wasn't just competing, she was desperately defending her home soil. And when you dive into the official match statistics, one number jumps off the page and explains everything. Why Eala collapsed into tears the moment it was over. Julia Grabher generated 10 separate breakpoint opportunities in this match. 10. Let that sink in. On clay, that kind of pressure is suffocating. It's the textbook formula for an upset. It means your service games aren't just under threat, they're under siege. Every hold becomes a battle. Every point carries the weight of a potential collapse. And in that environment, the Austrian crowd played its part perfectly. Loud, relentless, sensing every flicker of vulnerability and amplifying it. Every time Eala stepped up to serve, she wasn't just facing an opponent, she was staring down a momentum-shifting crisis. This was extreme competitive danger. Grabher forced her into uncomfortable, high-stakes situations again and again, corners where a single unforced error could have flipped the entire match and triggered a wave of criticism. But this is exactly where real champions are forged. Because out of those 10 breakpoint opportunities, Grabher converted just one. 1 out of 10. A brutal 10% conversion rate. That number tells the real story. Under maximum pressure, when the crowd was at its loudest and the stakes at their highest, Eala did not break. She held her nerve, point after point, shutting down 9 separate threats with composure far beyond her years. And on the other side, she was clinical. Eala created 7 breakpoint chances of her own, and converted 3. That's a dominant 42% success rate, the kind of efficiency that wins matches at the highest level. That contrast defines everything. It reveals a player with elite emotional control and tactical maturity. When the pressure peaked, Grabher tightened. Execution slipped. Opportunities vanished. But when Eala was pushed to the edge, she didn't panic, she executed. Calm. Precise. Relentless. Relying on her high-level training, she dictated rallies, hit her targets, and dismantled pressure with ruthless discipline. During the points, she was ice-cold. Which makes what happened after the final point even more powerful. Because the tears weren't weakness. They were the release of everything she had just survived. That makes the emotional release even more profound. Because in reality, Eala had already broken Julia Grabher mentally long before the final point was ever played. This level of mental toughness and clutch execution carried directly into one of the most underrated aspects of her performance, a serving masterclass built not on power, but on precision. At a quick glance, the stats might mislead you. 0 aces for Eala. 3 for Grabher. To the casual observer, that looks like a disadvantage. But that's exactly where traditional narratives fall apart. Because clay court tennis, especially at the European level, is not about flashy 120 miles per hour aces. It's about control, placement, consistency under pressure. And Eala understood that perfectly. She didn't need to overpower Grabher. She needed to suffocate her rhythm. And that's exactly what she did. Eala landed an outstanding 73% of her first serves, compared to Grabher's 67%. That difference may seem small, but in a high-pressure match like this, it's massive. It meant constant pressure, constant disruption, no rhythm, no comfort. And when those first serves landed, Eala capitalized. She won 69% of her first serve points, outperforming Grabher's 64%. That's efficiency. That's control. That's dominance without noise. But the clearest proof of her superiority lies in the raw numbers behind her service games. Eala won 53 points on serve and held serve 9 times. Grabher, just 35 service points and only 6 holds. That gap tells the real story. Eala didn't use her serve as a weapon of brute force. She used it as a scalpel, precise, calculated, and devastatingly effective. She carved through defensive setups, neutralized pressure, and navigated the most dangerous moments of the match through pure consistency. And then came the moment that captured everything. The tears. To a casual viewer, it might look like an overreaction, breaking down after a straight sets win in what appears to be a routine early round match. But that interpretation misses the point entirely. Those tears weren't about the scoreboard. They were about everything the scoreboard failed to show. Because in the ruthless, analytical reality of professional tennis, those tears weren't weakness, they were pure psychological release. To understand that moment, you have to grasp the weight Alexandra Eala carries every time she steps onto the court. At just 20 years old, she isn't only playing for herself. She represents an entire nation. Over 100 million Filipinos follow her journey, living every point, every rally, every outcome alongside her. That kind of expectation is suffocating. Add to that the pressure from sponsors, rankings, and a global media narrative questioning whether she could truly succeed on European clay, and the burden becomes enormous. She walked into a hostile environment. Thousands of fans backing her opponent. 10 break points threatening to derail her. Nearly 2 hours of grinding, physical, high-stakes tennis. Every inch had to be earned. So when she finally closed it out, winning 76 points to 65, the emotional dam broke. Those tears weren't sadness. They were the release of pressure, pain, expectation, and survival all at once. The result of relentless training, long travel, sacrifice, and the constant demand to prove herself on the biggest stages. The traditional sports world wants emotionless champions. But Eala proved something far more powerful. She is human. And that humanity is exactly what makes her dangerous. An athlete who feels the weight of the moment, who understands the stakes, and still delivers under extreme pressure is not fragile, she's formidable. That's the kind of player who doesn't fold in Grand Slam finals. That's the kind of player who fights for something bigger than a trophy. By defeating Julia Grabher in her home environment, silencing the crowd, and surviving one of the toughest pressure tests of her young career, Eala didn't just win a match, she evolved. She proved she can absorb pressure, face repeated danger, and still execute with precision. This wasn't just a victory. It was a statement. Any doubts about her ability on European clay? Gone. She walked into a high-pressure trap, and walked out with control, composure, and conviction. And now, the stakes rise. And does this victory prove she can go all the way? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you want more deep, data-driven breakdowns like this. Subscribe to Court Pro for elite-level tennis analysis you won't find anywhere else. And turn on notifications so you never miss what's coming next. The clay court battle has begun. She survived the storm. Now the tour has been warned.